So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It is our great pleasure to welcome all of you today for this webinar on virtual exchange, not just your pandemic solution. So before we begin, let me just very quickly share that we have closed captioning that is available, and you can activate it by clicking on live transcript in your Zoom window. Please feel free to share greetings, comments, and any relevant links in the chat. There is a designated time for question and answer. However, questions for our panelists are welcome anytime using the Q&A function in the Zoom window. This webinar is being recorded and it will be available on our AFS YouTube channel in the coming days. And please, we encourage you to share your impressions on social media using the hashtag AFS Effect, hashtag IEW 2022, and feel free to mention at AFS. So my name is Anaïs Chauvet. I am the Educational Support Specialist at AFS International, and I will be your host today. I come from France, and I am currently based in Seoul, South Korea. So it's actually Thursday morning over here. So forgive me if I say today when it means tomorrow for some of you. So about the International Education Week. So this webinar is part of the IEW Week, which is an opportunity to celebrate the benefits of international education and exchange around the world. I encourage you to visit our website and our AFS YouTube channel to find more information and access the recordings of the amazing webinars that my colleagues have been moderating so far. For those of you who already attended any, feel free to share which one in the chat and what you appreciated most about it. And 3 other webinars are planned this week on global competence, access to intercultural education, and a collective discussion on the recovery of international education. The last session will not be recorded, so make sure to register and attend it to be a part of the discussion. So just a few words about AFS. It was founded in 1914. As of now, it has over 70 years of experience in intercultural programs. The AFS network counts for 55 national organizations operating in 113 different countries. Their headquarters are located in New York City, with partner organizations operating as independent entities. Our organization has about 12,000 students going on exchange each year, forming an alumni community of over 500,000 people to this day. The network wouldn't be the same without our volunteers community of 43,000 people and all the host family opening their homes across the world to international students. Our impact goals guide the work of the AFS network. This includes how we make decisions about our educational agenda, goals, impact, and their respective deployment across the AFS network and stakeholders. AFS impact goals today are to develop active global citizens, to globalize schools and institutions, and to expand access to intercultural education. And so our discussion today is a lot more about expanding access to intercultural education. So before we start, we introduce our speakers. We'd like to learn a bit more about all of you. So let me get our poll started over here. Yes, over here, sorry. I have 2 questions for you. The first one is, what is the nature of your professional activity? It can be K-12 education teaching, higher education teaching, mobility exchange programs management, virtual exchange programs management, research, policymaking, or something else. If it's something else, please feel free to share in the chat what it is. And then we're wondering, how active are you in virtual exchange? We have never engaged in virtual exchange, however, we are interested. We started during the pandemic and have stopped now. We started during the pandemic and plan to continue. We've always done virtual exchange and will continue, or something else. And here as well, feel free to share in the chat what that would be. I'll give it another 30 seconds to answer the questions and share back. But it's looking like a lot of you are in virtual exchange programs management and some people from higher education. Welcome. Most of you have started during the pandemic and plan to continue virtual exchange. And we have just a couple of people between never doing virtual exchange but interested in it, or started during the pandemic and you have stopped now, or you've always done it and you will continue. So for those people, feel free to share your questions in the chat, in the Q&A, and share your insights with the other attendees as well, of course. I close the poll now. All right, so let me introduce today's speakers. So first of all, we have Fran Baxter, who is the co-founder and director of Value Learning, which is based in Australia. She is a qualified educator and has been working in the international education space for 25 years with a focus on fostering intercultural understanding. We have with us Makiko Haraga, who is the vice chair of the AFS Board of Trustees. Makiko is a writer, translator, and adjunct lecturer at the Tokyo Institute of Technology. She teaches English courses for undergraduate students and leadership courses for graduate students. Her classes are a good mix of Japanese students and international students. Lingyan Jiang is the national director of AFS China. She was also a visiting scholar to the AFS International Office in 2019. Lingyan is a writer of the book Intercultural Learning in High School, available in Chinese. So for our agenda today, we have now gone through the welcome and introduction. We will now move forward with hearing from our speakers. Fran will start first to share more about her experience and insights on virtual exchange through the work of Value Learning. With Makiko, we will share more about the AFS network large picture on virtual exchange and our observations of the impact of virtual exchange. And Lingyan, we share her insights on online learning and virtual exchange from her perspective in China and the future that she sees in it. So good morning, Fran. We're very excited to have you with us today. I believe everyone is eager to hear from you, so please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And thanks for the opportunity to speak with everyone today. All right. So the topic of my talk today is rapid change and lasting impact. And to do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the examples that we have gathered from a number of programs that we've been running as Value Learning here in Australia, but also with a global reach, and coming from very different perspectives. So we're going to look at the Australia-Indonesia Youth Exchange Program, which is a government-funded program for young people 21 to 25 years of age, most of them still in the higher education system, though some of them in graduate positions. We're also going to look at the Victorian Young Leaders to India program, which is a school-based program for Year 9 students, run from the Australian state of Victoria with students in both Australian schools, Victorian schools, and also in India. And those students will be around 14 and 15 years of age. And finally, I'm going to consider in my thoughts around virtual exchange, a program we ran, or a number of programs actually we've run over the last couple of years for IES Abroad. And in particular, this was university students in undergraduate courses on a virtual exchange to Australia, which was a credit-bearing experience and based on a program around the management of sport or business administration. So really three very different perspectives on virtual exchange. And for each one of these, they have also programs that existed prior to the pandemic. So they had a live traveling immersion component prior to the change. And I hope that this gives us some real insights into what our concerns were, what worked, what we did, and the ongoing, what the experience is teaching us around moving forward. So when we started to think about virtual exchange, that rapid change that I've named this presentation, there was a real urgency to consider, do we can we move online, or is this something that we just have to sit out? Is it a matter of just waiting for things to return to normal? And there was certainly quite a bit of thought around maybe that's that's what we should be looking for. So we really had to overcome a number of, I guess, myths and concerns from both those that were funding our programs, in which case it could have been the Department of Education if we look at the school-based program, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, which is the Australian equivalent of the State Department, when we think about the Australia-Indonesia Youth Exchange Program. And clearly the IES Abroad program brought us on board when they made the decision that we really can't wait. We need to keep some continuity in the programs. So first thing that really was on everyone's mind was online is something you do when you can't do the real program. So it's a poor substitute. There was a feeling that, we have to do it, we must, but somehow we're missing out on the real program. And this was something we were very concerned about. The other thing is that a lot of thinking around participants can't really learn about culture without immersion, especially coming from people who have been very engaged in the type of exchange that was most common prior. So where students travelled abroad in order to have their cultural immersion. And this was something we especially heard from alumni of the programs who were really concerned that that the programs couldn't go ahead without that real program feel. The other thing that was a concern to us personally as we were designing our programs, but also we heard from others, that you can't really retain interest online for an extended program. And so the IEP program, the Australia-Indonesia Youth Exchange Program, and the Victorian Young Leaders to India program are both 7-week programs. So this is an extended period to be able to maintain interest in an online environment. And the IES Abroad was a 2-week program, but with very extensive hours involved. So full days of programming over a 2-week period. There's also worries that you can't achieve program outcomes. And these are the types of barriers that we were trying to overcome. And finally, that you can't form relationships, real relationships, or network effectively, make friends, real friends, deep friendships in the online environment. I can only imagine that that would be coming from people who had never tried online dating, but it was a real consideration and certainly a concern that we heard from organisations, funders, and potentially participants. So busting the myths was really important to us. So what did we do? Well, firstly, I guess the important things that make any programming effective when it comes to exchange were equally important in the virtual world. And the first thing is follow good program design principles. We know that in exchange, it works when you have good preparation, when you have skill facilitation, when you have very intentional activities. And in the virtual world, the need for variety, the need to be able to ensure that you keep the pace up, that you watch the timing was very important. The other thing that we found worked, in fact, was absolutely essential, was to expect the best. We had absolutely no reference in any of our programming to what might have been. So the program, the virtual program, is the program. It's not the poor substitute. It's not what you're missing out on. This is the program, and it had some really effective elements that weren't even present in the travelling programs. So I think expecting the best, really ensuring that you are pitching the program for what it is, and that is a program in its own right with some amazing features, with an opportunity to achieve the outcomes, with an opportunity to network, to make friends, to build competence. That was really critical. And finally, choosing the right platform. So making sure that you've got a platform that does what you need it to do. And so for our IES Abroad program and for our IAP Australia Indonesia Youth Exchange program, we used Zoom, which proved more than suitable for the audience. However, we had some real concerns around maintaining certain security requirements from the Department of Education when it came to our under 18s in the school-based program. And we did some research and decided on a platform called AirMeet, which had some functionality that we just can't get from Zoom and really proved very, very successful. High levels of security, individual sign-ons, single sign-on for individuals throughout the whole program, so that they and a very dedicated space. So, making sure that you are using what is best suited to you. And I think when you combine those things, then you do see results and you do get the benefits. So what we found in all our programs is that we had very consistent comments from the funders and the participants that they were surprised about how effective the program was. There were some really strong connections that were made online. We had the ability to connect the participants, the students, to individuals that would never have been available to them in an in-person program. For instance, with the IAP program, the 21 to 25-year-olds were connected with a mentor program that saw mentors with real prominence in the international arena mentor them throughout the program. We also had a speaker series where we were able to bring in speakers who were prominent in their field and panels of speakers, again, in a way that would not have happened in the live program. And students had access to this extended network, and we found there was a great generosity on behalf of those that we brought into the program to share their experiences with the students and to continue to connect with them post the program. We also had some great results from, because we did quite a lot of evaluation and assessment, both quantitatively, we used the intercultural competence measure of the intercultural effectiveness scale, and we did pre and post testing on our programs for IAP and for the Victorian Young Leaders programs. We also gathered other evidence through online forums, through surveys and other means. One of the things that was, I guess, a little bit counterintuitive, but the level of discomfort required to learn. So one of those things we often hear, oh, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not learning. Well, there was still some discomfort available on the online and the virtual space. And this really did lead to some additional learning. We found there was less distractions, which meant more focus on the learning than what sometimes happens with travel. It was also inclusive and scalable. So a lot more accessibility in the virtual space to participants who may not have had the opportunity otherwise. And of course, there were some absolute benefits of low cost. And just looking at the results here from the Victorian Young Leaders program, the school-based program, really extensive and positive feedback. And the Department of Education were very happy with the outcomes, as were we, and the individual schools and the students. So will it continue? What's going to happen next? We think what's really important, and what we found from our own practice and our feedback, is keep what is working. And there's a lot of what we did in the virtual space that is working. Careful evaluation, consistent evaluation, have a plan before you start. Online preparation, build the competence prior to travel. It's very likely that travel will continue. And there's certainly appetite in the higher education and post-school space. A little more concern, I think, when it comes to the school-based area here in Australia at the moment. But I have no doubt that it will at some point pick up. So keep the best of. building confidence prior to travel, we think is really important and very well done online. The mentoring, really effective with our virtual programs, and we'll absolutely be keeping that, and it was never part of the original programming. Expect good results. Remember that. Don't, expect to get results from virtual. It's absolutely possible. It's proven. And with effective programming, with really intentional design, it can happen. We anticipate there's potential to shorten in country and increase the virtual, so that you've got some benefits of this hybrid model, and look for ways to maintain that accessibility and inclusion that in a lot of cases is can be missing from the traditional programs. So, bringing everyone along for the ride. Not everyone wants to travel, making sure that there are options. Are there options out there? Can you do a mixture of online and travel, or both, one or the other, hybrid? What's the best? And I think there's combinations there that are going to suit individuals. And keep the outcomes in mind. Always start with, what are we trying to achieve? Not so much how we're going to do it. What are our goals? And then make sure that all your programming really heads in that direction. And then be vicious with yourself. Are we doing it? Is what we're doing on a day-to-day basis actually achieving the goals? And if not, be flexible enough to change. So there are our learnings, some of our learnings from the last 2.5 years, and I hope that they're helpful, and I look forward to some questions later on.
Thank you so much, Fran, for sharing your experience and insights on virtual exchange. I really much related to your idea that virtual exchange is not a poor substitute to a mobility program, and we'll try to dig a bit more into this with another speaker a bit later. And I really love the idea that, yes, discomfort is still there, and it's less distractions as well for the participants to focus on the program. Let's keep looking at this. I see a few questions. We can have a look at them as we get through the webinar. Now I would like to introduce I would like to turn it over to Makiko. So Makiko, if you want to come up with us, perfect. Thank you. Good morning. It's a pleasure to welcome you as the AFS Board of Trustees Vice Chair. We're excited to hear more about your experience and observations, so please take it away. The floor is yours.
Thank you for your introduction, Denise. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Makiko Haraga, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Board of AFS International Board of Trustees. I am going to talk about some of the things that I'm going to talk about, but just before I really start, let me just briefly say that it's really, AFS has really started in developing, has really started early in investing in the development of the virtual offerings, and that's because this technology now allows us to do what we have continued to do since many years ago. Like as Annie's briefly told you earlier, that AFS was really started back in 1914. So our organization has a history of more than 100 years. And it was originally created as by ambulance drivers who transported wounded soldiers in the battlefield, which I'm very proud of. And after the Second World War, the former ambulance drivers created the youth programs. That's the inception of our organization. And since then, we have been providing opportunities, intercultural learning opportunities to millions, literally millions of people, including myself. I was an AFS exchange student with a year program to New Zealand. So it's a really life-changing experience. And we can now, with the help of technology, we can even do that virtually. And I think, Anais, before I start sharing my most recent experience of the AFS virtual offering, maybe you can help us understand how AFS has come to develop the online programs.
Yeah, sure. I have a couple of slides I can share with everyone. So very quickly, just to set the stage. So in 2010, there was a new focus on intercultural learning at AFS, and AFS Educational offers development for the organization. And by 2017, we have developed the AFS Global Competence Certificate, which is to this day used by our participants going on exchange program who are over 18 years old. And by 2020, based on the network strategy, we developed more digital educational programs for a larger audience. Then the pandemic hit all of us, and AFS decided to bring back home over 7,000 students. So to best support them, a special edition of that content was also put in place. And the pandemic created further needs for intercultural learning content, along with full virtual exchange programs for teenagers. And I believe this is where we're at 2 years later with this strong portfolio of content and virtual exchange programs. So that brings me back to you, Makiko, and your recent experience at a graduation ceremony in Tokyo. So would you like to tell us more about that experience, what it was and what happened?
Yes, I'll gladly do that. At the end of September, this is a beautiful photograph. This is a graduation ceremony of the New Zealand. This took place at the Embassy of New Zealand in Tokyo, and the online program for educators was offered by Education New Zealand. And it's not just that it didn't just involve Japanese teachers. Also, many people from around the globe participated in this online program. And so that the global certificate conference, we call it GCC, we just Anais talked about. So New Zealand is one of the most successful places that had been using our GCC to the number of youth, and then also this year they provided these opportunities, learning opportunities for educators, and then some Japanese educators, mostly high school teachers, participated in this offerings. And the program was facilitated by educators at Massey University. So you can also see them. They're joining from New Zealand, and you can see the facilitators online. And so the graduation ceremony was for those teachers who completed the program. And I had a privilege to attend their ceremony, and I learned so much. And from hearing what I have to say, and let me just introduce some of the comments that I heard at the ceremony. Many of them expressed that this opportunity really made them think who they are, and really given the time and opportunity to really focus on themselves, really reflect on themselves. And one teacher said, which I thought was I was really touched by her comment, that the teachers, we always think of students, always students first, but never think about ourselves. So that was really, explains perfectly how dedicated the teachers are, because teachers really work long hours and always almost solely thinking about their students, but never really reflect on themselves. But this opportunity really helped them reconfirm their identity, or even just really help them just face themselves and think about who they are. And that's, I think, almost every one of them said that. And their job might be very local. One teacher said that his responsibility is he's a homeroom teacher for the students who are not attending schools because of some health issues. And then, so his job is quite local, but he came to learn to think globally through this program. And there's another thing that all of them said. They were able to participate in this program because it's online. It was offered online. They couldn't do this otherwise, because this took the programs, most of the time they were in the summer break, during the summer break, so they were able to complete the program because they had more time. Otherwise, they couldn't do that. So I think this really gave them the opportunities to do that. And in this program, it's not an easy program. They have to really sit down and watch video beforehand and prior to the meeting, so they really have to prepare for discussions. So so usually during the business hours, they can't do that. And then they're interesting that they're saying that some of them are joining from the camping site. That one teacher was, because this was during the summer break, so he was at the camping near the mountain with his own kids. But he was joining from them there. And one teacher said her own child was in the hospital, was hospitalized. So she was joining the discussion from the room in the hospital. And other teachers, the lady said she was actually visiting her in-laws, and she was joining the program from their parents' in-laws house. So this is really, you can join from anywhere, and then even, the teachers said, oh, this is the first time I have to do my homework, because I'm the one usually giving students homework. So it's really an eye-opening experience for them, and I'm so happy to hear that they learn so much, and they're saying that they learn to think globally. And then I think they seems to have really enjoyed interaction with people joining from other parts of the world, and this is only possible virtually. So I think this is one of the best practices, I think. So Education New Zealand used the global offerings for educators. And then so I think this is not just for the youth. This is also the online, online offerings can provide opportunities for educators who are, normally work long hours and cannot have intercultural opportunities in person otherwise. And just like Fran was saying, it's much less expensive, and then it's affordable, and it's manageable, doable for working people. So yeah, and then you can, in terms of providing more reach in terms of space and time, and if you can maybe talk more about other examples.
Yes, it makes me think of other virtual exchange program we've had at AFS, like the Global Adventure, and we've had participants from countries where we don't have an AFS national organization. So it's virtual is allowing us to cross the network's borders itself. So virtually go into countries where we're not physically available or present. So it's really adding another layer of possibilities to virtual exchange programs, and reaching out to population that doesn't have access to this kind of program. I'm thinking of some other virtual programs on the topic of STEM, where we were also able to give access to technology to participants so that they could then be in the virtual exchange programs with other students.
Great.
And this is making me think as an educator yourself, because you are also a teacher in university. So what are you learning from them with this experience, and what is your position? I mean, how do you see virtual exchange yourself in your work, in your role as an educator?
Thank you for a question. I mean, it's a great question. Actually, I've been teaching. I've been teaching at the same university for about 18 years, but in the last 2.5 years, I've been teaching online only. So just recently, last month, we went back to campus. And at first, when the pandemic started and we decided to go on everything online, I was very skeptical about online education. This relates to what Fran was saying about myth. Like, can we, my question was, can we build strong connections online? Can we form relationship online? And can students communicate, online? And then I think that's, surprisingly, it also shows that Fran shows and the outcome. And then it is amazing. We can build very strong connections, and we can even create very intimate moments online. That really surprised me. Now back on campus, I'm just so happy to be back in in-person classes, but yet I miss online education as well, because my challenge of teaching Asian students, especially Japanese students, they're very shy. The Asian students are not necessarily taught in school to raise their hands and ask questions and make comments. So my biggest challenge is really push them and encourage them to speak out. And then, but surprisingly enough, during the online sessions, they see a lot of digital hands, and the students are constantly texting me in chat and throwing their questions and remarks, but it's not really back in campus. It's like quiet again. So I missed that part of the online, because I think for young people who grew up with digital devices, they are more comfortable with expressing themselves virtually. And then now it's just so much easier for them to do that. But now we are back on campus and the classroom setting. Some can be feeling more intimidated, overwhelmed, and then they're just really shy. And I really have to, now my challenge is to really push the people to speak. And always the international students are the ones who always ask questions or make comments. So I think I miss some part of the online education. That's a great thing. And then so I hope maybe the hybrid, and maybe it's not about which is better, because they are very different, and there are good things about so many good things and benefits about online education, and I strongly believe in the power of that.
Yeah, that was part of our discussion as well, that we were exchanging this kind of little stories, and as we were sharing, both of us, it just came out as an observation that it looks like people who are in the margin actually seem to be more comfortable or are making the most of their experience online. I had a few examples, like a high school student who shared with us that she has social anxiety and was a bit scared about participating online, and she ended up being the most talkative of the group. So that was something really nice. Or a Black woman from a US university who participated in the program with her colleagues who were all white people, and she noticed that throughout her journey, it really led her to be more talkative, or share a little bit more with her colleagues that she had never done in person to that point. Or, for example, if we go back to school, the idea of, I have this story of a student who has an invisible illness, who was struggling in school for many years when it was in person. And as soon as it went online, that student just started getting straight A's for the next 2 years when she was in high school. So this is positive effects that we can hear also as stories from students, just like you said, that the Japanese students may be very shy in class, but they're more talkative when we're online.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good story. Thanks for sharing that, Anise. And I think that, as Fran said, also online education is a really inclusive approach. So we can really offer opportunities to those people who otherwise can't afford to have that kind of in-person traveling experiences. Yeah,
there's so much we can do with this. Thank you so much, Makiko, for sharing your experience and your insights. I think we will move along with Lingyan, so that she can also share a bit more about her experience as well on the side. So good morning, Lingyan. I will now turn it over to you and share your experience as the National Director of AFS China, and how you have been working on the implementation of intercultural learning and virtual exchange, and what your thoughts are about this. So take it away. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Anise. Good morning, good evening, everybody. Before starting to my part, I would like to share with you that yesterday we started to have a cohort between Chinese educator and Japanese educator yesterday. And just like Makiko and Fran mentioned, I was a little bit worried about this cohort, because Asian people and Chinese people and Japanese people, but actually they are fully prepared to talk in our online exchange program. So the first session, facilitated dialogue, kicked off very well. And my colleague told me the participants, some of them not only educators, but also a businessman who are doing with robots and they really wanted to know how to communicate with Chinese people in a business world. That's very interesting. And so I would like to share virtual exchange before, during, and after a world crisis. So from my, or should I say from the perspective of AFS China, we believe virtual exchange makes exchange affordable for everybody, especially in China. China is a big, huge country. So I think it's not possible for everybody, for all those young people or educators, they go abroad and to communicate with different cultures and to immerse themselves in different cultures. But with the virtual exchange, I think it's made it affordable. So before the pandemic, we as an educational organization, we are doing exchange programs, intercultural learning, and we also have some kinds of online exchange, like AFS One Classroom. We tried before to bring students from different countries together. You can see the picture in the middle. We have students from China and we have students from Italy. We bring them online in one classroom to try to make them to talk with each other. And we also have some in-person, or how to say, to design virtual exchange programs before the pandemic, and to try to design the Chinese version to bring students from different countries or different cities. But basically, we are very much focused on the exchange programs, and we all know there's no doubt exchange program. If you have the opportunity to exchange with people from different cultures, it's a life-changing experience. It's meaning a lot of, because the diversity and a lot of new ideas and makes you open-minded. So we are fully aware exchange is very important as AFS. And then suddenly the pandemic comes, and you might know, so in AFS China, we still haven't resumed our hosting program yet. So which means, so we have only very few, even less, a lot of less than the pandemic, very few people to go abroad, to go overseas to exchange. And in China, we believe crisis, not only risk, but also opportunity. So we started to the next slide. Rethinking and repositioning what is the exchange meaning. As we tried before the online exchange, like AFS One Classroom and like GCC, so we started to think, is it possible to make it scale and to make it affordable to more people, to more young people and educators? And that's why we turned to using GCC from AFS International, Global Up, especially Global Up educators and Global Up at home. So during the pandemic, for the past 2 years, starting last summer, in addition to in-person exchange, we are connecting hundreds and thousands of educators and young people from different countries by providing digital educational programs. So how do we do? So for the educators, we bring together not only Chinese educators, and so we try to work with AFS USA and Value Learning and Tunisia and Thailand and the Philippines, and also AFS Japan, to bring education from 2 different countries or even 3 different countries and to make it a cohort, and then to create a diversified learning environment for them. And for college students, we also tried the same way, like CHN and USA cohort and CHN Australia cohort. We also provide virtual learning exchange program for high school students. So you can see there are a lot of testimonials and feedback from our participants. We posted those feedbacks in our website and social media, and I just pick up some. It's in Chinese, but I'll try to translate some of them. And one of the students, when he done with the AFS Australian cohort, he told us this is the first time for him to communicate with people from other countries and other culture in the real sense. Not necessarily mean it is the very first time for him to contact with the foreigners, but this is the first time for him to communicate with people in a real sense. And the most important thing is they started to learn through this program. They got the experience to work with, to communicate with students from other cultures and countries. So in the future, they will be well prepared when they have to face the intercultural exchange or intercultural dialogue. So one of the educator, one of the teacher, she is teaching foreigner Chinese, and she, through this educators exchange program, I believe she joined she participated China and USA cohort. She realized if she wanted to teach a student foreign languages, she has to know to change the stereotype, and she has to connect with these people, and she has to learn who am I, and then she started to learn she's able to teach foreign students his own mother language. There are lots of feedbacks. Basically, they are very much based on the virtual exchanges, very helpful, and connect them with the world. And also, they believe the way how to deliver the program is very important. And so you can see, as my colleague shared, the Global App Educators and Global App at Home. It's this is not a way like a lecture or anything like you learning something, but you actually practicing exchange, but through a well-designed program. And you can use some tools and concepts from our program, then which will be enable you to communicate with your peers in a very how to say, very good way or very prepared way. So in the future, we from my point of view, for AFS China, we will definitely working with partners all over the world to create a virtual exchange platform to reach out to more educators and young people. I think it's practical. As I raised in the beginning, virtual exchange make exchange affordable to everybody. So we really wanted to create a virtual exchange platform. And so we are able to bring students and educators from different countries and cultures. As you see the pictures, this is the network of AFS. I think this is also the charming of AFS. So many countries in this community. So we are able to work together and to create a virtual exchange world for young people. and especially who might not be able to travel, especially in the era of VUCA. What is VUCA? Have you heard about it? VUCA means, in China, this word is very popular. V means variability. U means uncertainty. C and A means ambiguity. I don't remember C, I'm sorry. Maybe I can share later. So we believe the exchange is connecting lives and sharing cultures, no matter in-person exchange and virtual exchange. So all the programs, exchange programs we are doing now. So the program is well designed and with a lot of thinkings and tools and concepts inside it, especially the virtual program. We really need to be fully aware of. It's not random exchange. It's a well designed. We have the same goal, and all the participants, they are well prepared through learning the online modules. So we hope we will be able to connecting more lives and sharing more cultures in the future. Here I just welcome you, all of you, join us and add more diversity to our virtual exchange opportunities. Thank you. Thank you, Anis, so much for my sharing.
Thank you, Lingyan. It's been really helpful, and I think maybe a key word on what you were sharing is really connection. Connection is something really big with the platform that you have in mind, and making sure that everyone has access to virtual exchange programs and really dive into this learning as well. So connection is really a big thing. And yeah, I think it can resume a lot of the things that you've been sharing and the interest that participants have been sharing as well. So thank you so much for sharing all of this. I'm actually going to stop sharing for a moment so we can turn it over to the people. We're arriving at time, but I would love to at least take one question from the audience. So let me check what we have. So one question was answered here. I think I saw a few in the chat as well. I remember someone asking, how do you even prepare participants to get ready for virtual exchange in the first place? So is there anything that Fran, Lingyan, you would like to share on how do we make this happen in the beginning?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to just give some of our ideas. I think the most important thing is that you're really clear about expectations and what you're offering and what's included and the benefits at the start. And then I think really starting strong, you know, with again, reinforcing the outcomes that you're going to achieve and the way you're going to do that, it is important. And then I think the third key element is in the design component, and that is making sure when you're designing your program, you're really building in a lot of interaction, a lot of variety, recognizing that different things are going to kind of connect with different learners, but also really considering maybe some of the concepts of universal design. You know, what's really working for those that have, you know, some special needs or might need you know, opportunity to translate, or they're listening in a language it's not their first language, you know, really works for everybody. So I think thinking about the design and putting some effort into that early on, getting feedback from your potential learners along the way, and being willing to adjust if something isn't hitting the mark. I think they're the things that are most important. But I think you're offering a program that is virtual, and again, avoiding that this isn't the program you're doing because you can't do something else. This is a program in its own right. It's strong, and there's lots of reasons why it's going to be a great, you know, result for you.
I
go ahead.
I think the universal design is very important. That's because AFS International, so we are like by multilateral organization. So AFS International is able to think not only from from American way or Chinese way, but it's much more international way, and try to fit you all. So this is very important. But in the future, we hope we can upgrade the program with more case studies from different countries, and all the cultures have their own saying in the program, and make it familiar with those participants, right? Wherever they're from. So that will be much more interesting in the future. And the other way for us how to deliver the program is very important. So for those experienced and facilitator is very important, because the dialogue session is the highlight of the program. So with those facilitator well experienced, they know how to encourage people to engage with each other, interact with each other. That's so much important in the program.
Yes, because in your case, there's a lot of the learning content that is online for participants to go through at their own pace. And the session is not a teaching space, but it's really a discussion and learning space within the group from their peers. So the facilitator is really here to guide the discussion and make sure we're going deeper into the reflection as a group as well.
The other thing is also, I would like to add, because in China is a big country. So when we organize a cohort, we like to recruit participants from different countries, from the north and to the south, from the east to the west. So even within the whole country, they are different. The culture, they are different. And like we have a college, like Makiko, a professor from university, and also like educated from primary school. But within those well-designed program, even college professor and primary school educated, they can talk with each other, have an effective dialogue or communication.
Thank you, Lingyan. We're at time, so I think we will stop here for today, but I think we all agree that this is something we could talk about for days, for a week, if we had more time. So this is not a finished conversation. This is actually opening the floor. So we would love to hear back from our attendees as well. Let me share back very quickly my last slide. If you could take a moment to scan the code, and share feedback. My colleague is also copying the link in the chat so you can have a look. And if you can share some feedback with us on today's discussion, feel free to also ask questions there. We can get back to you. Again, this is recorded. It's going to be on the AFS YouTube channel. So you will get an email leading you back to the recording if you want to come back to it a bit later. And a very quick shout out to our AFS Youth Assembly event that is planned in August next year. This event is a global gathering for youth to connect with peers and develop global skills and transform vision into action. I was there myself this year in New York City, and it was a pretty amazing experience to meet all of these young voices who really have a very deep understanding on what's going on and really want to make a difference at their own level, at their own scale. So if you have any students, participants who are interested in going to a step forward and going a bit global and looking at how to take actions, it could really be an event for them. So feel free to share the website with them to have more information. So thank you again to our speakers today, Fran, Makiko, Lingyan. It's really nice to have been speaking with you today, and I'm looking forward for more conversation like this in the future as well. And thank you to all our attendees for joining us today, sharing their insights and asking questions. So I will bid you a good day or a good night, depending on where you're staying, and see you very soon online. Thank you, everyone, for today, for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Annie.